Hey guys, my name's Jake. Today we're going to talk about recycling. A few things we're going to talk about is kind of how we got started as a family recycling, and also how we started our own business with my teenagers doing recycling in our area. Also going to show you some of the sorting facilities and how people sort stuff and sort all the recycling material, some general recycling rules, and new stuff that you're going to see in the future with recycling and what's going on in the recycling industry. So how we got started as a family recycling is uh, we would save all our recycling in our house, we'd throw it in the back of our pickup, and then the kids and I would take it down close to the house to a church where they had a big dumpster like the one you see in the back. The kids loved this because it was the only time they ever got to ride in the back of the pickup truck to take recycling. And so we started about 10 years ago doing that as a family when they were pretty young. About 6 years ago, we decided to start a business with the kids. What we'd do is we had about 5 people in the neighborhood and we gave them trash cans like the trash can you see here. And we would put bags in it and collect the bags, throw the bags in the back of the truck and take them to those same dumpsters. And we started with 5 customers in our neighborhood. And that was roughly 6 years ago when we started that business, and we've slowly grown. And here's just another example. And so about a year ago, we set it up and called it a company and really tried to start growing it. At that point, we had slowly grown to about 50 customers. Today, we're at 95. We're almost 100 customers in our area that we go around and collect recycling for. This is a picture of our website. So we actually have a website set up. We also purchased a truck and trailer and got it set up as a new business. Here you can see we split our area into two divisions, and we run 2 routes every Saturday. We go run one of these routes and pick stuff up for people. Here's the truck and trailer we purchased. It's kind of hard to see, but in the front of it, where you see my mouse, there's a little sled that's hooked to a winch, and it pulls all the material off of the trailer when we go to dump it at the sorting facility. I'll show you more on that later. Here you see my son Seth with the big trash can. This is where you put paper, plastic, cardboard, aluminum. You don't have to sort it. You just throw it all in here. And then my daughter Sydney is carrying a bin that we use to collect glass. And this is how we collect it, and then we take it and we dump it into the trailer, and we take the trailer to the sorting facilities where all the areas around, everybody that has recycling service, all their materials brought to the sorting facilities where they then sort it. So there was a picture of Seth dumping it in the trailer. So let's talk about sorting facility. Here is this great big sorting facility. It's a really cool, neat place. And you see kind of where my mouse was. That's where all the material is dumped from all the trucks coming in. And then this big backhoe tractor thing dumps it on this conveyor belt. And the material runs down all these conveyor belts and gets split off based on what kind of material it is. It's split off at different areas. And then you see in these big bins on the bottom where all the sorted material is stored, and then it's then collected and hauled off. So here's this big mountain. You see this big, huge mountain of recycling material. And here's our trailer, and we're dumping our stuff here, and it'll all get scooped up into that big pile. Here is a video showing the process of us unloading our trailer. Pretty cool process. So here's is a truck. You see on the side of it, there's a picture of a big blue trash can pointed out right here. And this is what you set out at your house if you have curbside recycling, and these big trucks come and collect it, and then they bring it to a sorting facility and dump it. Now here you see the backhoe, the big tractor thing, dumping all the recycling material onto this big box, and then that feeds it onto the conveyor belt, and it starts to go through the sorting facility on the conveyor belt. At different sections, there are actual bunch of people that work at these facilities that pull off any material that looks dirty or just doesn't belong, and they manually pull it off the line, and then they'll throw that stuff away. This is a good example of how stuff is sorted. All the material will dump onto this um, conveyor belt, and like this lighter stuff will fall through, or the smaller stuff, and the bigger stuff will keep going. And so this is one way that they can sort the material as it runs through these different lines, these conveyor belts in the facility. Pretty cool the way they could sort it out just like that. This is a good graphic that shows, more involved. The material starts, runs down the line here, and all the cardboard is pulled off, and then everything else keeps going down on the conveyor belt. Then they pull all the paper off, and then it runs through here, and they actually have magnets on some of them that will catch all of the steel cans, like your soup cans and stuff. And then they can reverse a magnet, and that'll shoot off all the aluminum, because aluminum's not magnetic for regular magnets. They can reverse it, and everything will keep going and eventually get split off. And there is a picture of where an optical sorter might be used, and we'll talk about that more later. So recycling basics. What can I recycle? When it comes to what can recycle, plastics, you're really looking for your general stuff like water bottles and milk jugs, stuff that you use around the house with plastic a lot. By the way, a water jug, they say it takes 250 years for a water jug to break down when it goes to the dump, goes to the landfill. And so why not reuse a water bottle and recycle it instead of it taking forever to break down? Paper, pretty much any kind of paper products, just want to remove any staples or paper clips. Cardboard, the big thing here is to break it down and not have anything inside of it. Don't have anything inside your boxes. And aluminum and steel cans, you really want to wash these out. We'll talk about this here in a minute. Um, those are kind of the basics there. Now, another thing is plastic bags. You cannot recycle plastic bags, and I want to kind of explain to you why. What happens is when you recycle a plastic bag, it goes in with all your material on these conveyor belts, and you have these big rollers, and you'll see in the rollers a bunch of plastic bags caught in those rollers. And when there gets too many plastic bags caught in here, they have to actually shut down the line, shut down the whole facility, and guys have to go over there and clean those plastic bags. And it's just a real mess. So you really can't recycle anything inside a plastic bag. Your material needs to be loose, and don't throw your plastic bags in there. A good option, what we do is we collect the plastic bags, we take them and donate them to a local food bank, and then when they hand out food, they put all the food that they hand out to people in those bags, and it helps give people food that need food. And so that's a great way that you guys could do that yourselves. You could collect plastic bags at your house and donate them. Or you could even do a drive at school or your neighborhood. You could have your parents send out a message to everybody in the neighborhood and say, we're going to collect plastic bags. Just set them out by your mailbox and drive around and collect plastic bags. And then you guys can take them and donate them to the food bank. So that's a pretty neat way to take a plastic bag that would have went to the dump, to the landfill, and actually reuse it. Cardboard, the biggest thing with cardboard is to, first of all, break it down, makes it easier to handle, but keep all the packing material out of it. Now here's a picture of what is the biggest problem with recycling that we see is food contamination. If anything's dirty, it will ruin all the material around it. So when it's at the sorting facility, they will pull off anything that looks like it's contaminated with food and throw it away. So if you're going to if you want to throw it away, that's fine. But if you want to recycle it, it needs to be cleaned off. It can't just have food all over it. And if you can't clean it off, or it's just too hard to clean off, like this plate's really dirty, it's better just to throw it away and not try to put it in your recycling. You really want to avoid food contamination. You don't want any food. Pizza boxes are also not recyclable because of all the grease that's inside of them. After they put the pizza in there, it gets a lot of grease in there, and the recycling facilities will throw away the pizza boxes. So you can't recycle your pizza boxes, even though it is a cardboard box. That's one thing to keep in mind with pizza boxes. Here's a great example of some common household stuff, some milk jugs, plastic jugs, water bottles. I don't know why there's a parrot in there, but I thought the picture was cool anyway, so I put it in. And then they take all those bottles when they're sorted and they smush them all together and put them on a pallet like this at the sorting facility, and then they send it to a big plant where they take all that and they grind it all up into little tiny pieces and melt it down into new plastic. This is an example of aluminum cans and metal cans, soup cans, beer bottles, pop bottles, cans, anything aluminum cans, you can recycle this. The big thing is to rinse them out or drain them, make sure there's not anything left in them. Okay, now let's talk about new stuff in recycling. In the future, you're going to see more and more things that are going to help us do a better job of recycling. The most important thing is we need to make it more affordable to sort the material and make sure that it's good, clean material and we don't have stuff in there that doesn't belong in there. And robots and automation is kind of the new thing that they're working on. Here's a couple pictures of some robots that will sense stuff. And this one's my favorite because this guy just looks really cool. This is a cool looking robot. And they'll sense stuff on the lines and take it off the line and sort it. And so they're still working on this and trying to get better at it. Also, a lot of industries, sorting facilities, they do currently have these optical sorting machines, and these are getting much better and faster and new technology, and they're going to become cheaper to use, so where more sorting facilities will be able to use them. And these are really cool. They have little sensors in. You see how it's all lit up across the bottom? It's an optical sensor that uses light, and it senses, it has cameras that sense what kind of material is passing through it. And the way it works is the material passes through the light sensor right here, and it tells what it is. And then there's little air valves that'll just shoot a little quick little puff of air that blows things off the line, and that's how it gets sorted. It's super cool because it does it really fast and a whole bunch of different materials at a time. And so here's a machine, and you see all these little air valves, little nozzles down here that blow air across the whole line and only in certain parts of the line. So the way it works, a piece of plastic will run down the line, it gets sensed right there, and then just the air jets right there as it passes over will shoot a little puff of air, poof, and it'll go flying over into this bin instead of going straight down with all the other material. And that's how they use optical sorting machines to sort some of the materials. Really, really cool machines because they work so fast and they work really well. Another way we're trying to get better at recycling is using chemicals to break things down. A good example is plastic. So they want to put a bunch of chemicals in the plastic, and then it melts the plastic down into a new liquid material that can then be used to create new plastic bottles. And this is a really cool way of recycling. And so here is an experimental facility. You're seeing all in the background, there's a big pile of plastic, and they're using these chemicals to treat that plastic and turn it into a new liquid material that can be used to create plastics. It's a really cool way of trying to process the plastics. So we're going to get better at processing the materials. And ultimately, their goal is to have a big facility, kind of like this one you see, a big plant where they can process lots and lots of plastics. And turn them into new plastic. That's really cool new technology. Next, let's talk about composting. This actually is not a new technology, but it's something that's getting more popular. It's actually the really old school way of recycling. So you can take anything that's compostable, it'll break down, like all this food you see over here. All this food, if you pile it up and leave it outside, in a few months it'll turn back into dirt. And like you see this good dirt over here. And this is called compost, and gardeners love compost dirt because when they grow things in it, it grows really well because it's really, really rich dirt, and it's good for growing things in. So pretty cool the way you can compost, and it's pretty simple. You just collect all of your food scraps and stuff that can be broken down, and then if it's picked up, it can be put in these huge piles. This is a great big pile, and it looks kind of nasty and gross, doesn't it? But eventually it'll look like this pile in the background here where it just turns into dirt, and then we can use that dirt to grow things in. And so what's happening is we are making more and more materials out of stuff that can decompose, that can be broken down. So now you can have instead of a plastic plate or tray or bowl, you have these kind of paper plates and bowls that when they go into a compost pile, they will break down and turn into dirt. And this is a great way to avoid sending stuff to the landfills. So now you'll see, when you see recycling, you'll see a trash can and then a can for all of your mixed recyclables like this. And what's happening in some cities, they're adding composting. So you see in the middle, there's the black trash. And then over here is the blue. On the left is the blue for recycling. And the green is for anything that can be composted, that's biodegradable. And so this is a growing trend that if you don't see this in your cities or anywhere yet, you're going to see it in the future, because composting is a growing new way of doing things. And cool thing about composting is you can do this at home. Right here is a great example of a bin that somebody has made, and they're throwing all their food scraps from the kitchen in here. And here's another example. So you could do this at home with your parents. You could build a little thing outside and take your food scraps and stuff from the kitchen and put it on the compost pile, and then in a few months you'll have really good dirt. And if you don't garden, you probably have some neighbors that really like to garden and love it. So that's the end of my presentation. If you guys have any questions, your parents can reach out to us and ask us any questions online. Feel free to let us know if you have any questions.